Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humble Bee and Me, and welcome to August's Q&A video. If you'd like to contribute a question to a Q&A video, feel free to just throw it in the comments below this video or watch for the post I make every month on the Humble Bee and Me Facebook page soliciting questions. I keep a big rolling document of them that I pull from every time I go to make a video, so if you've already asked a question, there's no need to ask again. I do still have it on file. But yeah, let's dive in. Our first question comes from Charlotte, who's a patron, so thank you so much for your support, Charlotte. And Charlotte asked, what do you find is the advantage to doing an online formulating course like Formula Botanica versus doing your own research? So, as you may or may not know, I'm currently working my way through Formula Botanica's sort of basic formulation of organic skincare course. And I'm taking a while to get through it, which is totally on me. I'm just stupidly busy. And I will give a full review when I am done. So, I think if you're looking at course versus research, it's not a versus thing, right? You should always be doing your own research. I know Formula Botanica really heavily encourages that you always supplement the course materials with more of your own research, because knowing how to research your ingredients is a very important skill. So it's not a versus thing. But a course can be a really great complement to doing your own research. And I think there's three really big reasons, really big strengths that a course can bring to your learning process. The biggest thing, I think, is just having tons of reliable information all in one place, all lined up in a way where you'll work yourself through it in a way that makes sense and where your knowledge is building on itself. Especially with Formula Botanica, you get sort of sample formulas and lots of guidance to understand, how does this formula work? What is every ingredient doing in this formula? If I wanted to change this formula, what can I change? How should I change it? How will that impact? So they really give you a lot of guidance to learn all these things. And I do find that information like that can be difficult to find on the internet when you're doing your own research, especially sort of for free. So I think that's one of the best ones, is just like it's right there for you. The next thing would just be the support that a good course offers you. You have tutors and classmates that you can ask questions from. There's probably going to be a Facebook group. I know Formula Botanica has one that you can join, and you can pose questions to the community, and there are forums, and you can email your tutor or your instructor. So you've got support to really help you guide you through things, which again can be hard to find for free or reliably or so quickly if you're not taking a course. And the last big one would be making sure that there's just no huge gaping holes in your knowledge, because when you're teaching yourself, you don't know what you don't know, and so you're not going to go out and teach yourself something that you didn't know existed. So this is especially important if you want to sell stuff. It's pretty hard to get out of a well-designed, accredited course without knowing about things like preservatives and emulsifiers and safe essential oil dermal limits. So these are all things that you should know that can take a while to kind of stumble upon out in the wild if you are doing your own research. So if you want to sell things, especially if you are newer to making things, I really would recommend a course, because it just helps you make sure that you don't have any massive gaping holes in your knowledge that could become a huge liability for you and your products in the future. Of course, the downside of the course is that they're not free. You do have to pay for it, and I completely understand that cost is a factor. So if you're not looking to sell things and you're not in a particularly huge hurry, you probably don't need to take a course. You could continue sort of going along your own merry way, learning things as you go, reading recipes, reading posts, kind of piecing things together. And then if you decide that you really want to learn more, there's no harm in signing up for a course later. I'm still learning things from this Formula Botanica course, and I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. So yeah, you'll still learn something if you take a course, even if you have been making things for a really long time. So yeah, those would kind of be my thoughts on course plus doing your own research. Our next question comes from Becky, who has asked, what is your advice for someone who is just getting started in natural beauty and skincare? The first thing I would say is, don't make natural your top priority. Make natural your second priority after safety. A lot of people really get into natural skincare because there's this sort of underlying assumption that it will be safer and that it will be better for your skin, but that isn't necessarily always true. I mean, remember that asbestos is very natural, and so is arsenic, and so is lead, right? You want to prioritize safety and then let natural kind of take the back seat to that with, sort of when you're establishing priorities and you're choosing ingredients. The second thing would be to learn about the function of the skin and the hair so that you understand how they work and you understand what they need. There is, I find, a very strong assumption that treating your sort of dermal ailments, sort of be it dry skin or acne, with 100% natural stuff will solve the problem because your skin is natural and so are the ingredients that you're using. But this isn't always the case. You really do need to understand the physiology of the skin so that you basically understand what it needs. I mean, sort of think about it this way. If you make a lovely smoothie and it's got like kale and strawberries and some nice like yogurt or something in it, lovely smoothie, it's got great things in it for you. If you fed that smoothie to your cat, and you just put them on an exclusive diet of green smoothies, your cat would not be doing so hot because cats are carnivores. And so even though this smoothie is this like perfectly lovely, organic, natural thing, it's not what your cat needs to thrive. And that can 100% be the case with your skin. You can be giving it lovely, gorgeous, organic, plant-sourced things, but if it's not what your skin needs to thrive, it's not going to do much for you. So I really recommend making sure you know how the skin works and you know what the hair needs and whatnot, so that you're giving it what it needs to thrive so that you have a good experience. The last one is on research and sources. I know that people who are new to this are typically very enthusiastic ingredient researchers, and there is certainly no end of sources out there, but not all of them are good. I've written an entire post on research red flags. I'll throw it in the description box below, a link to it, and I really recommend you give it a read. But generally speaking, approach sources critically. Understand that there's nuance to everything. I find that a lot of the first sources that you'll hit basically start by screaming chemicals are evil at you, and then sort of follow up with here's a bunch of like natural alternatives that you can use that are undoubtedly better because they are natural. But everything is a chemical, and arsenic is natural, and it's not a black or white thing. It's much more nuanced than that. And so if you're finding that your sources are presenting everything as being very black and white, I would encourage you to find different sources. All of the ingredients that we use have safe and unsafe usage limits. Find out what those are. Also, safe and unsafe ways to use them. Some things are perfectly safe to put on your feet, but you wouldn't want them near your eyes, right? Like, look for the nuance. And if the sources that you are reading don't have much, I would encourage you to find a different source. Sanjeeta asked, how do I decide the percent of emulsifying wax to add in a lotion or cream? So the general rule of thumb for emulsifying waxes is it's about 25% of your oil phase, but this can absolutely vary with the different emulsifying wax you're using. So make sure you're reading the data that you're getting from your suppliers. They should be able to provide you with some information on how to use it so you can start to get sort of an idea of how things will go. But generally speaking, if you're kind of formulating something for yourself, not really sure, start with 25% of your oil phase, make a small batch, see what happens. Miruna asks, do you envisage yourself one day doing just this, so no other job? And I actually do pretty much just this. I did have a full-time job when I first launched Humblebee and Me, and I got laid off in April of 2016, about 3 days after I submitted my manuscript to my publisher. And I just kind of never went out and found a real job. I was kind of like, hey, let's see if I can make this blog thing work. So I probably spent about 85% of my time doing Humblebee and Me related things. So filming videos, editing videos, answering comments and questions in emails, teaching classes, writing, developing recipes, that sort of thing. And then the other 15% of sort of, working time, I do sleep usually, is spent doing freelance graphic design work. And if you want to check out my design portfolio, it is at marierema.com. I would love to do blogging full time. So to that end, if you would like to help support me in that goal, I would love it if you considered becoming a patron. So I'll throw a link to my Patreon page in the description box below. But yeah, I would really appreciate your support. It could really help me do less not Humblebee and Me things and more Humblebee and Me things so that we can all benefit from more awesome stuff. And I do create unique content for my patrons, so there is something a little extra in it for you as well. Debbie wanted to know if I have a business. I do have a business. Humblebee and Me is my business, and I have actually officially incorporated it, so it's Humblebee and Me Co. Our last question comes from Jamie, who asks, what does a typical day in the life of Marie consist of? Do you have specific days set aside for formulating? How many videos do you film in one day? And what is your favorite part of this YouTube/blog/maker lifestyle? So confession, my days are not very glamorous on a sort of day-to-day basis. I typically get up in the morning, let my dog out, she goes back to bed, I get to work. So I'll make myself a cup of tea. That's actually a question Zill had, was what am I drinking in my thermos lately? And it is tea. It is Fortnum & Mason's wedding breakfast tea right now, and I'm definitely going to run out before I go to the UK in late October, and I'm like gutted. What will I do? But yes, big mug of milky tea and sit down with my laptop, and I usually kick the day off by answering some blog comments, some YouTube comments, and some emails. I do intentionally limit the number of these things that I reply to every day because I could spend all day every day doing nothing but that. So I do need to kind of say like, here's your quota for the day, fill it, keep chipping away at it. I don't know if I'm ever going to see inbox zero for any of those things ever, but I just, keep working at it. It gives me a couple quick wins every day, a couple things that I can check off my to-do list right off the bat, and then I can dive into sort of the bigger work of the day. So I use Todoist to manage my tasks, and I love it. It's a great to-do app, very slick, and rewards you for doing things, which is nice. But it rewards you in fake internet points, but like, woohoo, fake internet points. So review the to-do list. See if there's anything that needs to be done like now. Do I have a blog post going out tomorrow that I haven't done yet? Obviously that takes priority. Do I have some freelancing work that needs to be done quickly? Then that starts to take priority. If I don't have anything that, any fires to extinguish, usually what I'm working at is working on just kind of getting ahead in blog posts. It makes me really, really nervous to be working on something that's going out in just a day or two. I like to have a bit of a buffer. It's not always possible, but I always try to, especially if I'm traveling somewhere. Obviously, if I'm traveling somewhere, I need to have all of the posts done ahead of time so that they can go out while I am off gallivanting. Some days I'll take Lottie to daycare so I can just film all day long, and I can be very, very efficient on those days if I'm sort of like in the right headspace, which is great. I will be often filming like 3 or 4 videos simultaneously. I'll start a lotion and I'll do here we're going to combine the water phase and the oil phase and put this in the water bath and take it to the oven or take it to the stove to heat through, and then while that's on the stove heating through, maybe I'm making a lip balm. So I'm really working on making that as efficient as possible, and I can probably film the making parts of like 6 different videos in a day, depending on kind of what the projects are and how like on point I am. Because sometimes there's just days where it's just like, this doesn't work, and if I haven't taken Lottie to daycare, there's usually an afternoon dog walk in there somewhere, which is a nice way to kind of break up the day and make sure I kind of get dressed. Dog park fashion is not really that demanding, so there's a decent chance it's just sort of like, hey Marie, are you sure those aren't your pajamas? And I'll just be like, ha ha ha, I'll never tell. But yeah, it gets me out of the house. Generally speaking, I feel like I spend most of my time working unless I've planned something to do that is not working. I probably work from 8 or 9 in the morning until 9 or 10 at night every single day. Unless I have some other plans, unless I've made plans with a friend for dinner, or, I've found a new brewery and I've, gathered some people like, let's go do this thing, or I've got like dinner with my family or something. If I don't have other plans, I just kind of work all the time. But it's kind of fine because I love it, so I'm not really complaining, but just like that's what my life looks like. Lots of time kind of spent in this room filming things, making things, and lots of time spent on the couch editing, writing, answering questions and comments, that kind of thing. Not hugely glamorous, but pretty darn fun. When it comes to kind of talking about perks, my favorite thing about this kind of weird life that I live, the fanciest sounding one is all the travel. I love traveling. I prioritize travel very much as a part of my life, and I get to do way, way, way more traveling doing this than I ever would if I had a full-time job, which I know because I did have a full-time job. In this job, if you can call it that, I have the ability to work ahead. I can plan everything that needs to be done, and then I can do it, and then I can go. You can't do that in a job when you're not your own boss. So that, I have to say, I appreciate immensely. In the last year, I have been to, Montreal, Vancouver, Seattle, New York, New Zealand, Australia, Toronto, Manitoba, Portland/Albany, Oregon for the Mother Earth News Fair. And in a couple weeks, I am going to Philadelphia. Or no, not, I'm going to Pittsburgh and then to Seven Springs, Pennsylvania for the next Mother Earth News Fair. And then after that, I'm going to Kansas, and then I'm going to the UK and Europe. So yeah, I get to travel a lot. So that is definitely one of the fanciest things that I get to do, because this is what I do with my life, and I appreciate that so much. On a more day-to-day basis, the thing that I value the most about this blogger creator thing is that I'm never bored. I do definitely have to do boring things, like gather information for my business taxes for my accountant, but I'm never bored, and that is so good. I remember days at work where I would just be bored out of my skull. There wouldn't be enough to do, or it was just sort of never-ending production work on sort of somebody else's ideas. And so it was, it is so nice now that doesn't happen. I'm busy all the time, but it's always interesting. There's always an opportunity to learn more, to try something new, to experiment, to answer a question and do some research to answer that question to the best of my, that's really nice. So it can be easy to lose sight of that, like, woohoo, I'm never bored thing, because I do work a lot, but at the same time, I'm never bored, and that is so great. Like, I think that has drastically improved the quality of my life, and it means that my days just fly by. Like, the reason I work so much is because I don't notice the time passing, and that's a dream, isn't it? All right, well, I hope you found that interesting, a little bit of a peek into my day-to-day life. If you are considering becoming a patron, which I would really appreciate, I will throw a link to that in the description box below, so you can go check out my page and see the different kinds of like perks and stuff that you can get. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please remember to check out my blog. I've been blogging a lot longer than I've been on YouTube, so there's over 1,000 posts. There's so many posts, so many things for you to read. And the FAQ there is also very useful. And if you sign up for my emailing list, you get access to my free DIY for Beginners skincare course. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.